The Voice. And I'm not talking about the reality game show. I'm talking about the power and purpose of what God has given you.
This is the Worship Team Training Podcast. Now, here's your host, Branon Dempsey.
Hey, worship teams, leaders, and friends, thank you again so much for subscribing to the Worship Team Training Podcast and for your awesome support and weekly, daily attention. We thank you guys for also visiting worshipteamtraining.com, and be sure to check out our on-demand membership site for worship leaders and worship teams, WTTU.co. You can catch the rest of all of our other postings and news and events at worshipteamtraining.com/blog. And be sure to catch Worship Team Training on Instagram. And thank you for all of our Instagram followers that are listening right now. Thank you for that. And also, you can watch our shows on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Worship Team Training. And follow our Bible highlights on YouVersion. Just put a search Branon Dempsey Worship Team Training. That will come right up. And interact and follow us on Snapchat and Twitter at Worship TT. Thank you also especially for following what we do here on iHeart Radio and iTunes. As said before, we appreciate you guys subscribing to this podcast so that we can bring you weekly tips, updates, events to keep you going as a worship team, motivated, encouraged, inspired for what you do in your worship ministry. Also, you want to be sure to sign up for the Monday Morning Digest. That's at worshipteamtraining.com. Right there on the homepage, we have a pop-up screen. Enter your email address, and then you get back a 3-day devotional written by yours truly. Also, for those of you who've already subscribed, thank you for doing that. We have a special gift for all of you. We got our brand new release of the devotional, The Priority of Worship. This is one that I had written for YouVersion and Bible.com, and now we made it available in regular PDF ebook, so you can install, upload to your own device. All you need to do is go to WTTU.co/priority. And if you do that now, you actually get a 20% off code by going to that web link. Again, that's WTTU.co/priority. Speaking of priorities, what's coming up this week? Hey, we got our Monday morning worship Bible study at 8 a.m. That's May the 7th. Also, don't miss this coming Tuesday, May the 8th, our show, Vocal Management. We're going to be talking about how to care for the voice. What are some things you should be doing, should not be doing? Followed up on Thursday, the 10th, we have returning special guest, Alva Copeland. Alva Copeland is one of the vocal directors, vocal coaches, and choir directors over at Saddleback Church in sunny Southern California. Alva has been on our show many times on our video podcast, and now she's coming on the first time for one of our Thursday trainings at Worship Team Training University. So to catch that and all the other events, make sure you go to WTTU.co/events and become a member. All right, let's jump into it. Here is your word of the week: voice. What's the definition? The sound produced in a person's larynx and uttered through the mouth as speech or song. Now, that's coming from my Mac dictionary here. But when I think about the definition of voice, I think more about the production of just sound. I think more about, well, here it is. Your verse of the week right here. Psalms 119, 149. Hear my voice in accordance with your love. Preserve my life, Lord, according to your laws. And then also, we have a second type of imagery here, which is really our primary, coming from God himself. Psalm 29:4. David is describing the voice of God by saying, the voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is majestic. When is the last time that you've heard God speak, that you've heard his voice? It could have been out in nature. It could have been in song. It could have been somewhere else, maybe in your silence, alone time with the Lord. What's our question of the week? Well, simple. What is the purpose and power of your voice? So our worship team training leaders know To sing is one of God's most essential and basic sounds of the human voice. There is nothing more unique, nothing more fascinating or powerful, not just for us humans, but we also hear the singing voice from animals, birds, other mammals, and other marvelous, wonderful wonders of nature. The ability to speak, sing, and make music is not only a precious gift from God, but an enormous expression of tone, color, and emotion for the power and purpose to do one thing: communicate. Now, I talk a lot about this in other forms of the books that I write, our Monday morning worship Bible study that we have on WTTU. I talk about how your voice is not just powerful, but it is unique. It is also something that is loved by God, because God desires to hear his children speak, sing, pray, you name it. So speaking, singing, laughing, whispering, yelling, crying, silly sounds that we make all come from the voice. But what is its power for you? And what is your purpose? Our worship team training leaders are highly effective leaders. Point number one, what do we do with our voice? Learning about the power of the voice can make all the difference in your being. We are taught from an early age to speak our first word. As adults, we learn how to better effectively communicate, perform, and sing. What we enjoy as worshipers is our ability and expression to sing to God. There is nothing like coming before the Lord and having either a song or maybe even not a song, but just to sing to him by making melody with your heart, by your mouth. And as we age and with care and practice, from a practical level, our voices get better. We learn how to condition them for the exact use and purpose of what God intends. Number two, what do we learn from God about our voice? Well, you don't need to be a great singer, number one, to have a great voice. A voice is something that we all have and can use in many ways. Finding out the exact point of where God and how God wants you to use it is not only through your literal voice, but also your figurative voice. Many people say to me, yeah, but Branon, you don't understand. I don't sing. You may get the same kind of response when you ask people in your church, volunteer of making a choir or maybe rotating and trying out for the worship team. And you hear that response from people. But, the fact is that if you can breathe, you can sing. And if we can breathe and if we can sing, it's because God gave us a voice. So no matter the way that we sing or the style, God has a purpose for you. It also shows up in the way that you create art, the way that you speak to one another, and the way that you also give God praise. When we look at the way God uses his voice towards us, we see his power, authority, mercy, compassion, and joy. So then the other question is, how do we use that for others? And what's really cool, friends, when we meet God face to face, we will for the first time hear his voice in heaven. Man, won't that be a moment? An eternal one, that is. Number three, how are we to care for our voice? God, I'm telling you, and no matter what shape or form, if he's given you something, it is your responsibility to take care of it. For me, I studied voice when I was in my undergrad of music and back in college. I studied voice and practiced several hours throughout every day. If it wasn't singing and working on mechanics of scales and pitch and learning how to hear, it was also spent by just reading music scores and reading lyrics and understanding more about what the vocal makeup, how my voice works, and the mechanics inside of what goes together to produce sound. So there's a lot of different ways, and maybe your way today is not jumping into a vocal library to study all that you can to cram into your brain about what it means to have a good voice or to make one, but it does mean that If he's giving you something, you are to take care of it. So here are some things that I often share at our workshops. So these are workshops that we do throughout the country on a Friday and Saturday. I come to you working with your worship team one-to-one. And we start out with worship. We do the rest Saturday with hands-on training with vocal and instruments. So some of the things that I stress for singers is, number one, keep hydrated. No matter what, even as I'm talking right now on this podcast, I have my glass of water right here because I know I'm going to need it. When you talk, the more that you speak, the more that your voice actually dries out. So stay away from things like lemon or citrusy fruits because they actually strip away the voice. They don't give you longevity. They could maybe help you clear up a cold, but it's very short-lived. More importantly, if you're going to use it, make sure you double up on the water. Sing often and daily. This just means in your car, if you're walking through the house. Some people going back to the shower singing. That's what they like to do. Well, sing often and daily. Work on your skills with a piano. Get next to a piano and start working out different notes and pitches. Make it a goal to hear the pitch and to sing it. Learn to breathe and sing naturally the way God intends. Not forced, not strained. Again, drink more water. These are things that also I cover in our university membership site, such as having great teachers like Alva Copeland and Rick Muchow. Rick has been on our program many times, and he's talked a lot about the human voice and how we are to care for it. Alva sang under his direction for a number of years, so it's going to be awesome to have her on. We're also going to have some young guns coming up to talk about their vocal experience later on throughout this year. Lara Marriott comes to mind as well. We're going to have her back soon to talk about what she does with her voice, so be on the lookout for that. But here's the thing, to recap it all, your voice is meant for many things, but even more so, your voice is meant for God first. He desires to hear your praises. No matter if you are a non-singer or shower singer, He gave you a voice. So if you use it at all, use it for Him. Use your voice to encourage and lift up others. Use your voice for kindness. Use your voice to communicate love. Use your voice to sing and to speak and to hear about God's power and purpose. Workshops to see how we can give you a one-to-one private weekend with me or any of our other staff members and with your worship team. Friday night worship, exploration of teaching on worship. Saturday, full hands-on training with your voice, your instrument, your band, your vocal team. Included is a music workbook. We also custom tailor everything to your needs. And best of all, we come to you. If you mention this podcast because, hey, we're filling up and you want to go ahead and get your church in now to sign up, this very simple application, let us know because the fall is coming and we want to make sure that we save room for you and your church. And if you mention this podcast, or if you subscribe to it or you've heard it once, we will give you a 20% discount if you just mention the podcast. That's it. And also, we ask that you would check out WTTU.co to find out more on our membership for worship leaders and worship teams and our on-demand growing library program. You can't miss it. You don't want to miss out on all the great training coming up. And we thank you guys for, again, downloading this podcast. And we ask humbly, would you please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio? Even better, share it with a friend. We hope that you're encouraged and transformed by the leading of worship. And remember, you don't need to be perfect. Guys, just let God transform the way you live life and the way that you lead worship. I'm Branon Dempsey, worshipteamtraining.com and Worship Team Training University. See you next time. Bye.
This has been a Worship Team Training broadcast and digital production with your host and training director, Branon Dempsey. Worship Team Training provides live workshops and online resources to help inspire, create, and transform the leading of worship. We'll see you again right here on worshipteamtraining.com.